Hear NFL legends, players, coaches, and media members from around the country sharing their insights and stories with us year-round. Here on Thursday night, Tailgate.
And now joining us is the Dean of Atlanta Sports Talk Radio and a member of our 2017 Hall of Fame class, Mr. Beau Bock. Beau has been a tremendous friend of the show over the last several years. Bob and I always look forward to getting to spend some time with Beau. He has been the Dean of Atlanta Sports Talk Radio going all the way back to 1973, and no one knows Atlanta sports better than Beau does, and his insights and knowledge are second to none in this town, and we're excited to have the Hall of Famer, Beau Bock, back with us here on Thursday Night Tailgate. Hey, Beau, Chris, and Bob, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, Beau.
Hey, guys, how are you? That was a great interview with Chris Miller. I didn't know that was Chris that was going to be on before me. You know, I saw every one of his games from the sideline. Every one. You know, when he was the Falcons quarterback. Boy, those were crazy times. We had some unbelievable times back then.
Yeah, what were your impressions and memories of Chris?
Chris Miller was the most accurate quarterback I have ever seen. And then beyond that, he was maybe the smartest quarterback, in the league at the time. He was a Drew Brees type, that was just cerebral. When a man was open, he never missed him. It's just, and he would, look over Michael Haynes and if he had man coverage, he wouldn't even wink at him. It was just automatic up top. Chris was also one of the best deep throwers I've ever seen.
So, Beau, staying sort of on Falcon quarterbacks, I wanted to get your thoughts tonight on Matt Ryan and his new contract. $30 million a year seems like a lot of money for Matt Ryan. Your thoughts? Did that contract surprise you at all, or do you think, well, you know what, that's just a going rate now?
Yeah, it's going right, Chris. I mean, what are you going to do? If you want a quarterback in the National Football League who's got something to him and a little bit of success and a lot of experience, it's a $30 million bill. And I think he is worth it. I love Matt Ryan. We were talking about Chris Miller. Matt Ryan may be the second most accurate quarterback we've had, in that franchise. So, Matt's a great leader. He's a great competitor. He's been really done wrong by the media in this town, who are better off doing, the Iditarod, covering that instead of football. He really, he was not even a hero here. Can you imagine if he had this, what he was doing like this with the New York Giants? He'd be one of them. He'd be one of the cities. They'd name the Empire State Building after him. Our city, because there's no media here, is dead. Dead, sports-wise.
Yeah. So, Beau, give me also your thoughts and expectations for Falcons, top draft pick Calvin Ridley. He's a guy who killed Georgia as a wide receiver for Alabama. Yeah. So now we crossed the state lines, and here he is as a Falcon. Right. What are your expectations from him?
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, here's two guys. Here's two bookends. Just taking put their hands on their hips, looking at each other, say, "Oh yeah, here we go." And, and Matt Ryan's a better deep thrower than anyone's given him credit for, too. So, now all of a sudden we're going to be throwing the ball in the bucket, going downfield. And I think, Calvin Ridley's a tough guy. He's obviously a very productive guy. He's had some drops, but who hasn't, for that sake?
Bob, questions for Beau?
Hey, Beau, I got to start off with the Atlanta Braves because they're quietly, if you had told me even May 17th, Beau, that this team would be in first place over Washington and the Mets were highly touted, et cetera. It's a really great story. The 225 runs scored, Beau, that's up in the Red Sox, Yankee territory. And Snitker, if you saw Snitker on the street here in New York, no one would know who he is. Talk about the job he's doing there.
You'd expect them to ask you where the subway is or something. So I love Snicker, and the best thing about Snicker is he's not afraid. He's not afraid to make moves. He's not afraid to put guys in motion. And that's the antithesis of Bobby baseball, which had become our culture. Bobby's just sitting there waiting for a home run. I mean, Snit makes things happen, and that was really anti-Bravish when you think about it. And so I love Snicker, and he pays attention to the game. He's just not a cheerleader on the steps with a microphone over his head saying, "Come on, Rhino, come on, kids." I mean, that was Bobby, and we got him in the Hall of Fame. So he should be in the Broadcasters Hall of Fame for the cheers. But as far as I don't know, guys.
And Bo, as far as his maybe it's rubbing off. Guys like Markakis are having a second life. They're hitting like crazy, and the stadium is the novelty wearing off. What's the is it still the thing in town down there, Bo? As far as excitement?
No. You know what? They've really done a good job with construction of this new stadium and putting all the ancillary things around it where people can, have a hamburger before the game and come out and have a beer, It's really great. It's a great destination point. But there really hasn't been the electricity since the Braves moved up here. That never took effect. It's always been kind of manufactured, But now, waiting to see Atlanta respond now. And if you give these fans down here a product, they'll come out in droves. Even hockey. Every time they wanted to get rid of hockey, except the place was full. For the Flames. Flames are a great franchise in this town. And then those idiots who own the Braves and own the Hawks and the Thrashers gave the Thrashers away. So we'll never have hockey in this town. I mean, our whole history is nonsense like this. So maybe the Braves are going in a different direction, and maybe they will establish a viable culture. I mean, at this point, it doesn't mean anything to be a Brave. But maybe these guys can make it so because it's just not fat man's baseball. These guys are running.
Yeah.
So, Bo, they recently signed Jose Bautista, right? He's got a couple of home runs, but only hitting $156. Your thought? How long do they have to? Do you think they're going to stick with him before they decide? You know what? Maybe we need to go another direction. How long does he have?
Well, no, not long. But they'll ride out this wave. If we keep doing this, he'll make it through the year. But we've got a lot of third basemen in the tube, and you got to make way for them. But hey, you know what? If I'm Snicker or if I'm Schlenk, Schlenk, I'm talking about the Hawks guy. The Braves GM. They're playing it all out. Ride this wave as long as it goes. And worry about that. That's something I don't think they have to worry about. And
talk about some.
I thought it was a savvy move.
Give us your thoughts on the young pitching staff. Sean Newcomb has looked fantastic so far. What are your thoughts on the Braves pitching staff?
Great. You know what? It's like, don't forget that if we ever do have a culture here, it's really pitching, because that pitching staff, in the 90s was the best pitching staff in the history of baseball. In the history of baseball. So this group right now reminds me of Smoltz and Glavine coming up. Of course, we got Maddox from Chicago in '93, but they remind me of they're coming, and it's the same thing here, And then Smoltz was a little bit later coming on because he's the guy who introduced us to a sports psychologist with Jack Llewellyn, which I think was wonderful. I think it's great. All that stuff should be available to players and, allow them to perform better. And I see the same thing with with Tommy Glavine. Glavine had to establish himself off the plate to win. So, he often would get into trouble in the first, second inning before he could, synchronize and groove that pitch. So he had a slow start, or at least an erratic start. But Smoltz, then when Smoltz came on, he was dynamite. We're going to get another combination, like that out of this group right now. And I love, guys coming out of the bullpen. It's just, this is, I don't see any flaws to this thing, guys, where you say it's going to all fall apart because they're not playing that type of baseball. They're playing hustle and guts baseball. And that doesn't go away. These guys are, producing runs, playing great defense, pitching better every day. So, maybe about August, we may have some, couple of dominant starters here. To me, the least valuable starter is Tehran, the veteran.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So,
because
we're 42 games into the season, right? So you're at the quarter pole. So how excited should Braves fans be? To your point, you're saying, hey, look, I don't see this thing slowing down or falling apart. So should the expectation be at this point that they can ride this out and win a National League East title?
I think so. Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, in fact, the headline in the AJC sports section today is big headline letters. Believe in the Braves. I feel like saying, you knuckleheads, where you been for crying out loud? This is we saw this coming. You didn't know if it was going to arrive, but we've seen it coming. So now, don't be so, oh by golly about this thing. Can we grow up as a sports community, please? Can we at least talk competition instead of oh by golly and crazy Frank Howard, spitting and did that? Come on, let's grow up.
And Beau, you talked about the new stadium here, right? And when you look at where the Braves are at, again, 26-16 going into tonight, only 9-8 at home, 17-8 on the road. Concerned at all about where the home field advantage is?
No, not. But you know what? You've got a whole new bunch of guys put together. Give it a chance to sink in. Give it a chance to get massaged a little. Give it, the club the opportunity to get personnel who really fit themselves to the dimensions of that park. And that's overstating the fact. But the fact of the matter is, let it play itself out. It's a very small sample.
Bob, one more for Beau before we let him go?
Yeah, but I got to ask him, Beau, tell me about the Atlanta Hawks. Beau, this is a team that Lloyd Pierce in there now. I don't know if they're getting these guys hired to be fired, but this is a team that went 12-40 in their conference. Another horrific year, Beau. What's the fan base like down there?
Very filled with anticipation, believe it or not, Bobby.
That's good.
It's further down the path than are the Braves. Because what the Hawks finally did, they've gone for the last 28 years, just going season by season, finishing in the middle of the pack, underachieving, and no one cares because they were treated like a circus act. You go out there 42 times and the fans come and look and throw peanuts and it's great. But now everybody realizes, like, you had to shut everything down. You had to go back to zero. It's the same thing the Braves did in 1986. They went back to zero. They said, we're not going to compete anymore because our minor leagues are devoid of talent and we've got to fill our farm system. And, basically the Hawks are doing the same thing. And it just took a ballsy owner, and guys who are willing to do that, for that to happen. That's basically just kind of like the fundamentals of competition, and we don't see that too often in this town. It took Tony Westwood coming from the West Coast.
Sorry. Well, before we let you go, remind our listeners, how can they stay up to date with all the things that you're doing, your newsletter and the other things that you have going on over social media as well.
Yeah, if they'll just send me their email address, I'll put them on our distribution list, and just send that to Beau Bock, PEAUBOCK @gmail.com.
Beau, it's always a thrill for Bob and I to get to spend some time with you. Thank you so much for coming back and being part of the show tonight. You're a great TNT Hall of Famer, my friend.
Thank you very much. And see you, Bobby. Be good.
Take care, Beau. That's a great Beau Bock. And Bob, it's always a good time for it. The segment with Beau is always fantastic. You know, he knows more about Atlanta sports than anybody in Atlanta or anywhere else for that matter. He's fantastic. I love Beau.
Yeah, he'll make you laugh. He'll almost make you cry, and then he'll definitely tell you what's happening, right, Chris? And hasn't always been the most popular opinions down there in Atlanta, but he'll tell you exactly what's going on, and that's what I love about him. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. We like his realness.
Exactly right. All right, when Bob and I come back, we'll be turning on the Thursday night tailgate spotlight on the positive. Hear which players are doing great things in their communities, and then we're going to wrap up the show, and we'll do that on the other side of these words about our friends at the Salt Creek Golf Retreat and Doubleback Winery from Joe Lajanusa.